kind of started. There we go. You want to go some more? Let's go some more. You want to? There we go. That wasn't so bad. Let's go take a look. Okay, we got some updates. Got distracted, had to do a little side gig today, but we've been off and on the Desoto most of the day. The good news is that the back brakes are in on both sides. Front brakes look good on both sides, but we have a new issue. So we got out this is the Holt, I think it's a Holt brand. It's from the freight harbor, this vacuum air powered brake bleeder. And so far on a couple of cars we've tried it on, we just haven't had great success. So we hooked it up, first of all, back here. You start at the furthest wheel from the master cylinder. Hooked it up here, let her rip for a while, nothing came out, couldn't figure it out. So then finally I said, all right, well, let's go up to the left front. Maybe we just have, you know, air. There's nothing but air in the lines and we just got to give it a little help. So we went up here, tried to pull fluid through here, couldn't get squat until I finally went in and I kind of pressed the pedal a little bit off and on. And then I got some fluid out of this left front. But then the pedal got really hard. And yeah, it's just really confusing. We have all new wheel cylinders and we have new rubber hoses at both front. What I did not get is I didn't get a rubber hose, a drop hose in the center in the rear. And then also there's a little rubber hose right here. It goes from this connection down to here. So we've been doing a little bit of diagnosticizing. Then we went back to the old method and we got the Mighty back out. And we went back here to the right rear like you're supposed to. And we have a little needle fitting directly into our wheel cylinders. And we pumped it up. And here's where we're at. We're looking at 16 inches of vacuum. It's been sitting here for 30 minutes. So, just about 10 minutes ago, so all right, well, let's start breaking it down here. This car is old. We've got a little T fitting down here that splits front to back. It splits two fronts and then one line to the back. And that's all, just a T fitting. And now notice here, for the records, we are open up here. Completely open. So that should have eliminated our vacuum at the back. We still have 16 inches of vacuum at the right rear wheel cylinder. So there's a blockage, a clog, something is not letting fluid through. And it's between the hard line to the master cylinder and this rubber hose, and then the hard line to the back axle, and then another rubber hose and the hard line to each one of the wheel cylinders back there. Now this left front acted goofy and still wouldn't bleed. Once we got a little bit of fluid out of the top wheel cylinder, we tried to bleed the bottom wheel cylinder and we couldn't get nothing again, and the brake pedal got hard as a rock. So I believe that this hose right here, it looks fine, but I believe that hose that goes from there to there is probably compromised. And we have one on the ways from Irish, so hopefully it'll be here tomorrow and we'll make progress again. I do believe our master cylinder might be happy, but the more we stomp on it trying to bleed brakes through a system that won't let the fluid bleed, we're risking, you know, tearing up that 70-year-old master cylinder. So that's where we're at. That's your update. Sorry, I got a little, we drug rambling. I'm rambling again, but I want to kind of explain because it's really unusual. 2 days later alert. It took an extra whole day to get my brake hosies in. But we got them from the Irish, and I just set it down. I don't know, where did I put it? Golly, out here. Here's one. Here's the longer one. This one's for the rear. This one's about almost 18 inches long, I believe. And then the front ones, they have the same ends on both of them. They're just different lengths. Here we go. I put it on Smoky. This is the guy that goes from here down to here. And yeah, they call this 12 3/4 inches, and I'm sure it is, but I believe the one that's on the car is probably about 13 and a half. So we're gonna see. They're really wanting us to stretch this. I don't think I can get you guys in there and watch this process, but what we got to do here, you can tell by the new hose, it just hard screws into the bottom end. There's no swivel here, so we're gonna have to put it in down there and then attach the brake line from the master cylinder on the top, and that's how that's going to work. So to take the old one off, we have to do the reverses, and we take the brake line out of the top fitting of the hose so that we can twist the whole thing out of the T-union down there. I'm going to do that quick, and then we should finally be able to bleed the brakes on this hog. Well, this is one of them times when you're doing one of those mundane, everyday things, but you wish you would have had the GoPro going. So we had to, this is the upper fitting. This is the hard line coming down from the master. It was really, really stuck, and we were going to round off this flare nut on the end. And so we elected just to take it off at the master up here, and then we got it out of the T at the bottom. Now, when we did that, some fluid, clean new fluid, came out of it, and I walked it out here to the driveway, and I could blow through it real easily. So I'm like, okay, this might not be it, and here we go, rabbit hole. But it's okay because we got to replace this line anyway. So then we're working on this fitting just a little bit more, and it won't come loose. So we get out the MAP gas and we start putting a little heat to the fitting. And oh, here, Mackie Shop Dog's here. You need to drink it probably. You need a drink, do you? You've been partying. You've been partying at your neighbors. Good boy. But anywho, as we're heating this up to get it off, I'm standing like right here. The hose literally blows off of here, hits me in my belly, and lands on the floor. So I still think that the only way that happens, remember, this is just a big tube. If there was expansion, if there was, gases getting warm in there, it breathes. It should breathe at both ends, and it's not. So I believe either we still had a problem in this tube, or we're going to get, once we get this other fitting off of here, we're going to snake a little bit in this hard line here. Maybe we got something going on there, a piece of junk that got built up. But that's your update. This guy, it made a loud pop and it came off of here, and then this thing smoked a little bit. So we built that pressure somewhere in here that couldn't be released, and that just happens to be our problem with fluid too. So we're gonna keep digging. We'll get the new line on. If I come up with something fancy in this hard line, I don't think I'm gonna, but I'll let you know. Okay, we've got updates. Luckily under here it's pretty much all gone, so there's nothing more I can pull out, but I'm at the wit's ends, and but we're slowly making progress. We try to start bleeding the right rear, and nothing. It's still holding the vacuum all the way, and it won't There's nothing. So I'm like, all right, well, let's get up here close by where the master cylinder is so we can, you know, get back and forth easy and start breaking this down. I'm waving my light around if it's getting weird. Talking with my hands, even though I'm holding a camera with one of them. But anyway, we get down here, and yes, we pull the drum off because we could get fluid out of this top wheel cylinder, but we couldn't pull fluid out of the bottom wheel cylinder. So off comes the wheel, the drum. Luckily it came off nice. And yeah, here's where we're at. This guy, we take him off, and as you can see, still we've got fluid. Oh, come on, dripping away from the first wheel cylinder, and we cannot blow through this short hard line. So it's not, I don't think, the hose. I think we've got some buildup, and if I've run across this before, it's been a very long time. Of course, you're not gonna sit still. There you go. And so yeah, so let's get a little bit of wire, and we're just gonna see here if there's gunk in there. No, not really there. How about on this end? Oh, there we go. We got gunkage. Yep. So what could have happened is the rubber hose breaks down and pushes junk into these tight bends. Is probably where we're getting caught up on. We're going to take some brake cleaner, spray some into this end. We didn't get any gunk or any resistance on this end. Then we're going to try to blow out here. Blow this out. Oh, there, it's dripping already. Yep, there we go. It wasn't much. Wasn't much at all, but it was enough, I think. Good golly, you guys. Are you kidding me already? Let's spray her one more time. I should have put a clean rag down in here to spray that stuff onto, but it's coming out clean now. That little bit of gunk is just causing us headaches. Now, this is just one tiny little hard line. My fear is that this ain't the only one that's doing this. We're gonna get the left front back together and bled. And Gypsy's here visiting. Hi, Gypsy. What are you doing? Say hi. That's the neighbor's dog. He's just barely going to get his winter coat shed before he's got to grow another one. No, get out of there. Get out of there. But anywho, we'll get the left front bled. We're doing it backwards, but that's just the way it's going to go. Then we'll move over to the right front. I have sneaky feelings that we're going to be pulling it apart too. We're getting there though. I was pretty generous with the time I set aside to do this. It was last weekend. I started actually early, like late afternoon Saturday, and I said, you know what, let's work on the Desoto Sunday and Monday, and then we've got a couple customers coming in that need to get done, but we should have things to two whole days. Shouldn't be a problem. It's Thursday. It's going to be a week, and it's a holiday weekend this weekend. We're going out of town, so I've got till noon tomorrow before I got to drive a school bus full of cross-country kids to a meet, and then we're gone for 3 days. So this is going to drag on probably close to a week and a half to get brakes going on this car. Now, I ain't mad about it. You can't get mad about it. This stuff is just going to happen when you're dealing with this old rusty stuff that has sat for years and years and years. And luckily we geek out about it around here, so we're just going to keep rolling with the punches and get after it. I'm going to get this driver's front back together and bled, and we'll bring you back for another update. Okay, theory confirmed. We just twisted in our bleeder screw for the lower wheel cylinder on the driver's front, and she's dripping like crazy. By golly, we don't have much update for you, really. We're a full week into this now. Went and visited family for the weekend. It is Tuesday morning, and we're still having troubles with these brakes. Now, I'm okay with the master cylinder. It won't let fluid gravity bleed out of it, and I don't know why, other than that it's a unique design. I'm okay with that. I have verified we can vacuum fluid out. We'll be able to bleed. And we also verified that when you push the brake pedal, it pushes fluid out, and it only pushes fluid out through the outlet. It's not leaking fluid anywhere else. So we're still team master cylinder. Now what we've run into here is an issue where we're finding blockages in the brake lines, and not just the rubber lines. I've a handful of times in my 40 years of dabbling with cars professionally and semi-professionally and hobbyistly and whatever else, I've had a handful of brake lines, the rubber lines, where they collapse inside, or they grow shut, the rubber degrades, whatever. What I think is happening here, or has happened, is, and tippy tap in the keyboards in the comments and stuff, and tell me if you agree or disagree, or your thoughts. We're looking for ideas here. We're kind of past the point, but also I'm really curious, because I've never really seen it to this extent, and I would not have guessed that we would see it on an otherwise really clean and well-kept car. But my theory is, somewhere along the line we got some screwy brake fluid in this system, and it started to eat up the insides of the rubber lines, and those particulates are now dispersed throughout the system, and now we gotta find all the little blockages and unblockages them. We've pretty much done that in the fronts. The fronts from the T union to the wheels, I'm pretty happy with. I think we're okay. But then, we thought, well, surely we don't have that big of a problem in the back. We throw a new rubber line on there, and life was going to be great. Open the bleeder screw. It'll hold 25 inches of vacuum for days. There's a blockage. So we took the line, the hard line, off at the rear hose, and our new rear rubber hose, from our new rear rubber hose to each wheel cylinder, we cleaned all that out with compressed air and brake cleaner. We're good there. So we're down to this guy right there, that T. And the plan now is, like I said, these two lines, the one line that comes out towards the front and the line that comes out the driver's side, we're feeling pretty good about that. But something's going on in the T, or in the hard line that comes out the back side of the T, or the rear side of the T, and goes down the frame rail and goes to the back brakes. So we're just going to take that line all the way out, that whole hard line. We'll run a new line, flare some ends, and at the same time we will blow back through. We're going to have to re-bleed all the front brakes, of course, but we're going to blow back through those front lines, through that T, and make sure everything's clean. Everything's going to be clean. Everything's going to have brand new fluid. And then we'll try to bleed brakes again. Okay, we're making gains once again, at least I think we are. So we got underneath. Here's our line. This is where it hooked up to the T. There's a little bend where it goes down and then goes along the frame. And then here's where it hooked to the rubber line going to the two rear wheel cylinders. And this is all the fluid that dripped out of this thing. So there, it was basically empty. And then you look through, I don't think you guys will be able to even see this, but if you can, if we can focus maybe, it's about half clogged. There's gunk in there, and we'll dig it out with a pick here. Before we do that, we're going to get you on the wax and grease remover tripod. We've got a clean as it gets, white rag, terry cloth rag down here. This is the end where I'm thinking this buildup's going to be in these tight bends here. So we're going to take some compressed air down on the axle end and blow down here, and you holler if you see something come out of there that is holler worthy. Here we go. Oh yeah, I can see it from here. You got chunkies galore. Let me get them all. And that is not, they're not metal chunks. I think my theory is correct. We've got, yeah, that's hard plastic rubbery stuff clogging up these brake lines. Well, cool. All right. So we know we're on the right track now. And let's dig this guy out while I got you here. I need a pick. Here's a pick. Go into here. Look at that. That gunk coming out of there. Yeah. We're going to build a new one. And so we're going to build a new one. And in the meantime, we already went through and we blew back through this hard line here to that T, the passenger side hard line to that T, and we even, just for funs and giggles, went through our new master cylinder hose that connects the hard line from the master cylinder down to that T. So in the theories, all the junk should be out of this brake system now. Okay, a couple days later, alert again. Boy, this thing's a fighter. So here's where we're at. We got our new rear brake line to the rears all bent up. You can kind of see it down in there, that copper looking one. And it goes down along the frame. I'll show you the bottom side. Nothing too spectacular, but it looks all right. Comes down here, comes along here. We got all our clippy clues lined up right, so it's all nice and clipped in, and then it goes back to the union for the rear brakes back there. Now, as soon as we did that, we instantly were able to bleed the rear brakes, get all kinds of fluid back there. Life is really good. And then we went back to the fronts, and again, couldn't get anything to pull through using vacuum. I mean, we took the front wheels and hubs have been off of this again. And we did a little bit more cleaning in through wheel cylinders, through that hard brake line that connects the two. Everything cleaned out all right. I'm a little bit at a loss for the words because it just doesn't make any sense. In the end, however, we're able to get it to gravity bleed okay. Still have a lot of trouble trying to pull vacuum or try to pull fluid through with vacuum. I mean, we're getting up in the 20-25 inches of vacuum range, and it's just barely making it through. What I think may be happening is that the cylinders, because we've got these shoes backed in there all the way, that maybe the wheel cylinder, the piston inside the cylinder, is covering the bleeder hole. I don't think it's supposed to do that at all, but that's where we're at. The short story is we think we're there. So we're not even going to beat around the bushes. We are going to drop this thing on the ground and just see if it has any stopping power at all. Like I said before, I'm 50-50. Not discouraged, but golly, this has been fighting us for way too long. Let's see what we can get done here. Okay, dudes and dudettes, I know the video's getting long, but I want to work through this with all y'all, and I think we're on to something. We're fast forwarded quite a bit. We've been all back together. We've been down the road. We put about 6 miles on this bad ride. And other than the brakes being crap-tastic, the thing runs great. So we've been back on the lift. We've tried bleeding. We've tried gravity bleeding. I've got a really hard pedal. I've got a little bit of back brakes, and I don't think I have any front brakes. And so we're in an Irish because we're going to have a little bit of fun with this once we get these brakes sorted out. And it just so happens that 70s Tastic helped us out on our trailer race video. Go check that video out. He loaned us some footage for that, but he's got like a 53 Desoto, and a little bit different. It's a 6-cylinder car, and of course a couple years older, but has the same style front drums. And he says, you know, on mine I had to shorten the push pins on a couple of the wheel cylinders because they were pushing the piston of the wheel cylinder in so far that it wouldn't let fluid in to bleed and or actuate the brakes, and it blocks that bleeder hole. And you know, that exact thing has been bouncing around in my brains because of, there's a couple things. Number one, I'm looking for a pin while I'm telling you this, so bear with me here. But number one, the brakes have always bled, not great, but they've bled much easier and quicker without the drums on. And we know the drums fit tight. We've verified all that. So that's an issue. And then number two, here's one of them right here. Number two, we can't get any fluid through our front wheel cylinders. Here's what we're going to do. Here's one of the old pusher, piston shoe pusher, I don't know, forks, dealy bobbers. What I did do when we got the new wheel cylinders is I made sure that these are the same exact length. Not only was overall length the same, but same from saddle to nubbin. However, doing my researches, I do know that through the years of Desoto, factory-wise anyway, they used different style wheel cylinders that had different length of pusher pistons, pusher forks, actuators, different lengths of actuators. And ours were the red ones, and then our new ones, of course, they're aftermarket, but they had the same length of actuator. And then the third reason why we think this is a possibility is because we could barely get the drums on in the first place. And by shortening the actuators, we will bring those shoes in a little bit more. It should make things easier to adjust with our initial tool, adjusting the entire circumference, and then also through the backing plate, adjusting those cam bolts in the back. So, yeah, hey, Gypsy, how are you, buddy? Neighbor dog Gypsy's here to say hi. Yeah, it's a good boy. So that's what we're doing again. We're gonna get the front of this car up. We're gonna pull wheels, hubs, and get those actuator pins out. And now there's a couple different ways you can go about shortening these. He shortened his on the nubbin end, and that's just fine, no big deal. Excuse me, I got an itch. And that's just fine, no big deal. What we're going to do, I think, he took about 1/8 of an inch off, which is where exactly what I was thinking. What we're going to do is we're going to slice 1/8 of an inch off the end, and then we're going to take a cutoff wheel, and we're going to go 1/8 of an inch further in here in the saddle area, and we're going to shorten ours there. So that's what we're doing now. I'm not going to take you through taking everything apart. I'll see you when we're shortening pins. These are the nubbins. Where's the old one at? I don't know. Oh, here's the old one. See, exact same overall length and length of the saddle. What we're going to do, we've already marked this one 1/8 of an inch. We're going to come in here with a cutoff wheel and a grinder and just open up this saddle a little bit. There's our new comparison. Shorter length to longer length. We'll do this second one, we'll get it back together and see what it looks like. Okay, looky here, dudes and dudettes. We got our spindle nut where we want it. And the drum slid right on. We're perfectly centered, our shoes are. Now we can go back here to our centered cam bolts. We're gonna go that might have been too far. There's that one. Over here. Oh, too far. Perfect. That's where we want it, right there. Guys, I really think we're on to something here. Well, let's crack the bleeders on these guys and see what happens just gravity-wise. A couple days later, alert again. We're still fighting. The lovely missus came out and helped me physically bleed the brakes. She did the old push on the pedal, and I did the old crack the bleeders on the lift, and we've got about 1,700 pounds of floor dry on the floor underneath the lift as a result. And yeah, fluid flowed perfectly through all the lines, front, rear, no air showing. Took it out and drove it, and it'll just barely slow itself down. I mean, it'll stop, but it ain't right. So today, this morning, we're bright and early out here, and we got the hood prop rod, and we've been doing this for a little bit now, but push down on the brake pedal there, and it's not to the floor, so there's pressure built somewhere. But then we come up to the front wheel. I shouldn't be able to do this. This should be locked up solid. And We jacked up the rears, and the rears are kind of in the same spot. Now I can pump it 3-4 times and hold it, and it gets better, but I can still turn the wheel and tire by hands. So that ain't good. That ain't right. I think we're gonna pull this master cylinder back off of here. We've had it out. We just cleaned it up. We didn't dig into it. And it's a little bit of an odd duck. Well, it's a unicorn. I ain't gonna kid you. But I don't know where else. I mean, we just aren't getting enough fluid to the brakes. The master cylinder does not leak. It's got its own bleeder. You can see it's wet because we bled just a tickle bit of air out of it this morning. But it's not leaking internally. It's not leaking out. The pedal gets firm. But at this point, we've replaced just about everything else in the system. Yeah, we're taking the master cylinder back off. We're going to get it on the bench, and we're going to take it apart. But we could get ourselves into a spot where we ain't got no master cylinder, and there aren't replacements available for less than 2 gold bars and, you know, a vital organ. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to figure it out one way or another. Let's figure it out. All right, so 4 nuts. Now the difference is, like I said before, the plunger stays with the booster. So as we pull this off, we're going to lose all of our fluid out of it. Going to try to do a controlled dump, and then that's what we get right there. And here's our plunger. There's a little rubber nubbin in there. I don't know what that does. We're still really good here. We don't have any fluid down inside of the booster cavity. And then we've just got a little square O-ring here. But I have a feeling down in here is where our problem is. So let me get you out of the echo chamber and over to the bench. Okay, so right off the get, we've got a little bit of a rusty tinge to our fluid. And while this little pan wasn't completely clean, we've got one pretty good chunk there. We've got some other little speckles of rust and crud. And then inside of here, we've got just a little bit of crud and rust. Now, I believe, in fact, I'm certain, this guy, these 2 holes here, there's a special tool probably that goes in here. You can see there's tool marks on the edge of that, where this will turn out and probably allow you access to, you know, these seals, and there's probably a return spring in there and all kinds of stuff. I don't have that, and I don't really want to make that tool right now. So we're going to attack the outlet side. This is a big hex, and then it looks like a big copper washer. And then we can also take the brake light switch out, and the bleeder out, and the fail cap out, and maybe we can find something there. But I'm interested to see especially what's behind here, and maybe there's something in there that's restricting the flow out. 1 1/4 is really tight on this bed ride. 1 5 is a little loose, but seems to be happier. There we go. That was easy. Now, what are you gonna tell me about yourself today? Okay. We've got a piston. Ah, okay. A little seal here. We've got some scratchies. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that, guys. Look at this. This nubbin goes on there. Here's our little gasket at the end. This guy was just kind of in there, obviously catching and grinding and not being happy. Goodness. Yeah, we've got gunk. Okay, the good news is this isn't... Wow, there's rust in there too, but I think it's just, this isn't like this isn't a piston. I called it a piston. It's not. It doesn't, I mean, it slides back and forth, but this isn't what's holding your pressure back. This is just some sort of a, I don't know what it is. If you know, let me know. But we just need to get in here and clean all this crap out, it looks like to me, so that things will be happy again. But now that we know that, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take the pressure switch out, take this bleeder out, and we're just gonna clean and see what happens. All right, we got out a little piece of paper here so you can see better on this black background. First of all, here's our cleaning bowl. Yeah, we had some dirt in there, but look at this. I'm pretty pleased. Look how this cleaned up, you guys. That's that bore in there. It's a machine bore, but there's not a piston that has to move in here other than, I believe, and I'll explain this in a second, but there's a little, I think it's so if you have a major brake failure that it just doesn't let all the fluid go out at one point, and it'll give you a few pumps to try and, you know, figure it out maybe. But that cleaned up really well. We went ahead, what we used, let me get it out of here, is this guy went in there. This is just from the greatest place on earth, and you go in there and you just really it with the old impact driver, and then we also put the extendo on it and went down into the actual reservoir and got all the surface rust cleaned up in there. So I think the body is happy. And then this guy, again, this is some sort of a little check valve assembly in here, and we were able to get everything cleaned up. There's just a little surface rust on a couple things here that we will clean up right now. We got a springy goes down in there first. Then this cat, it's a little rubber seal, but it doesn't slide again, like I said. Now we got another little cap here and a smaller sprungy, and then on top of that, this guy goes. So you've got like a main check valve and then this other little secondary, I don't know, overpressure. I don't know. Somebody, you know, if you know, tell me. Tippy tap. We'll give them just a little bit of a, like that. Just like that. And then he goes there. And then we also want, because as we spin this, as we spin this guy in here, yeah, that's the way that goes. We don't want to tear up this flat seal. There we go. We're just going to go nice and slow. We'll get this bolted on the car, and then we'll get a dinner roll wrench and tighten that big nut up. Okay, so that should all be the way that it was. Okay, little thread tape. Got our brake light switch installed. Yeah. We need a bleeder. And we know it's okay. We're going to go ahead and clean it up a little bit. Just gonna snug him up into there. And then our lid. If this is the fix, we're gonna be pretty happy. There's a couple concerns here. Number one is this is now the second time that we've had this master cylinder off. And you know, these seals aren't just gonna let you do this over and over and over again. We're gonna put a little bit on that actuator, and we're gonna put a little bit of brake fluid. No other lubricants when you're doing brake stuff like this, just brake fluid. It doesn't want silicone or PB, anything like that. You'll mess up seals, you'll mess up stuff. And then it's just a matter of asking it very nicely to go back on. Please. How's about it? Do you feel like going on there? It kind of started. There we go. You want to go some more? Let's go some more. You want to? There we go. That wasn't so bad. Luckily, this is still out and handy because this is all we've been doing to this car for the last 16 days or so. It's coming. The fluid level is going down in the master cylinder. There it comes. Now, before we even start it up and go, let's get in here and just see. We'll try the old brake pedal hold it method and see if we can turn them front wheels. You know, what were we? We were 70% sure, and then we went down to 50, and we're gonna go back up a little bit, maybe 62% positive on this right now. Let me move my leg, and we'll give her 3 pumps, and then we'll stick our hood prop rod between between the seat and the pedal. Okay, now if we can get it out of here, let's see if we can. Oh, I can't turn the front wheel. Driver's side feels pretty firm, real firm. Oh, same with passenger side. Okay, it's coming off the jack. We're gonna go for a little road test. All right, well, we're in gear and it's holding itself in gear. Might need a little bit of a, I don't know. Let's see, that squeak is the seat and the springs. The passenger side on the bench seat won't latch in. I don't know if we're better or not, to be honest, guys, but let's get it out on the road here and do a little testing. Quite the list of stuff to do sitting out in front of the shop. Manual steering. That ain't bad. With a little bit of bleeding, we might be acceptable. Come on. A little cold. See if we can lock them up, huh? Let's give her one little pump and then. Okay, the backs are locking up. Well, it's parked up back outside here. It just isn't gonna happen. the brakes are bad. They're just not good. I think it's a master cylinder issue because we can get actuation on all 4 wheels and there's no air in the system. Now, without a load on it, without pressure building, and during the bleeding process, you just get fluid galore. It's clean, the stream, it's good. But then as soon as you close it up, take her down the road, man, it takes everything in the old right leg just to get her to woe down some. With 3 or 4 pumps, you can almost get the front wheels to lock up, but not quite. So we're gonna end this just debacle right here, and appreciate you watching. Now we're gonna get right back into this. We have something ordered. I have something ordered, and we're gonna get the old engineering fabrication hat out, and we're gonna try something. Well, we're gonna make it work one way or another, but stay tuned for the next Desoto brake video where we make something fit and work that ain't supposed to fit and work. Thanks for watching this video. I know that there's no positive happy ending here, but we will get to it. But sometimes you got to throw the failures in there too. It ain't all sunshine and butterflies around here. But stand by for the next one. It's gonna be better. And consider subscribing if you like what we're doing here. And we will see you on the next one.